Hello and welcome to Talking Good Game. Whether you're watching live or you're joining us after, thank you for joining us and welcome. It's just finished Everton 2, West Ham United 0. We're on a nice little bit of spell, brought back down to earth with a bump. We're here to discuss match highlights and just where it went wrong for West Ham or where it went right for Everton. Maybe it was a combination of the both. Charlie, unchanged lineup. Could you blame Slab for doing that?
No, and I was super happy with it. It's exactly the lineup I wanted.
In hindsight, after the game now, are you thinking maybe we could have changed a couple of things?
I guess, but I mean, my only real problem with the formation to begin with was Antonio playing up front, just because he's not technically good enough to do it. And against Chelsea, he worked wonders because on the counter-attack, he's a fantastic player to have. And so I couldn't blame him before or after, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, let's get into the game. Gonzo, impressive start for both teams. Were you impressed by West Ham the way we started the game?
Yeah, I wasn't complaining. We were on the match thread on the forum and it was all fine. We had a lot of possession, but we didn't really threaten their goal, which was a constant throughout the game. We didn't threaten their goal much. Everton didn't press us, though. So they allowed us to have that possession and we were happy enough passing it back between our three centre-backs, get it into the middle. I think Payet and Lanzini in those first 20, 30 minutes looked quite sharp as well. Fernandez had carried on where he'd left off. So, yeah, I was not unhappy, particularly as it's a bit of a nasty stomping ground for us, Goodison Park, historically. So, at that point, I was quite happy.
Everton, Charlie, Obiang should have done better with that chance, do you think? Got put through arguably one-on-one, but getting closed down by Payet, blazed over. Harsh on Obiang, or do you think he should have been tucking that one away?
Harsh. If it was a striker, I'd be losing my mind. But, you know, he was under pressure from two different defenders, goalkeepers sprinting at him, everyone's staring at him. I can understand why he skied it. I mean, obviously, he could have done better. But if that was a striker or someone like Payet and they just skied it over, I would have been super angry. But him, you know, he doesn't get many chances like that. And so the pressure probably just got to him.
Do you share that opinion, Gonzo?
That was fine. It just when he said everybody was staring at him. Well, that'll be it then. That's what's put him off. You can't have all those people in the stadium. They should have looked away, shouldn't they? But I actually, no, with all the people closing down on him, I would go a little bit harsher, not just because of that. I thought that was his worst game, Obiang. And all honesty, technically, not just that chance, but his pass kept on giving the ball away. For some reason, Noble was deeper and Obiang was further forward. I would have swapped it around. So as when there was anybody to break forward or get involved in the more intricate forward play, it would have been Noble, because there's nothing wrong with Obiang's tackling. He made some decent interceptions, but crikey, I mean, his technique was abysmal today.
Food for thought question for those who are going to be watching the highlights later on in that. You can let us know the answer in the comments below. When you watch that back, as soon as it leaves Obiang's foot, two people clattered in the side of him, right? Now, Obiang wanted a pen, but no one else screamed for it. That was in the middle of the pitch, and Obiang passed it, and two people came in the side of him like that. There's no doubt the referee would have given a free kick for it. No doubt at all. So why is it different in the 18-yarder? There's your question for the day, so you can let us know what you think. Everton got a booking, Charlie. Obiang cut out the passing lane. Gonzo just said he should have been deeper, but you could argue that the fact that he had our best chance himself a one-on-one opportunity, you could argue that it was working. However, you only booked him. Do you think that was fair, or do you think it was a red card?
I think Everton got away with quite a few little things today. I think there were probably several people on the pitch who could have quite easily have got 2 yellow cards several times over. And so the fact that, you know, that decision went the way it was didn't quite surprise me, because I think actually he was rather lenient with, you can maybe argue with us a little bit as well, but I think he was quite lenient with a lot of their scrappier challenges today.
Gonzo, do you think it was a red card?
Possibly. If not, he should have gone for 2 yellows at some point during the game anyway. They were really dirty. I just back up what Charlie said. They started being dirty last season when that thug injured Payet. So that was under Martinez, and Koeman's got them. They're quite a big team as well. They're quite a big physical team, but they are dirty. Lots of fouls. They're not a nice team. They've toughened up with no bigger net result. I'm not sure that they'll particularly challenge the top places this season, but yeah, I thought they could have got a number of cards. I think they're a dirty team. They've started, as I say, becoming more and more dirty as time goes on, actually.
Well, the first half finished 0-0. You could argue it was a fair result. You could argue both teams had some decent chances without any clear-cut opportunities. While you're here, make sure you subscribe, and if you've enjoyed what you're hearing so far, give it a like, and give it a like anyway. It'd be nice. But second half, it took 5 minutes. It was coming. We all knew it was coming, Charlie. He didn't do much in the first half. Well, I suppose he had that half chance where he cut out someone's shot, but his first touch trickled to our keeper. Actually, I've missed something in the first half. That save from Ross Barkley. How did I miss that? I've only just seen it. Charlie, what a save.
Yeah, there was a debate about whether it was lucky or not, but I think I don't like looking at things repeatedly over in slower and slower motion because I think it's just pointless and needless. But in the slow motion replay, you see him moving his hand about because he clearly knows the ball's going to be somewhere near there. Like, unbelievable stuff. And that was the sort of reason why I know you, particularly Gio, don't like it when people say, oh, he's a better shot stopper than Randolph. But that's the sort of thing that am infinitely more confident in Adrian saving than I am Randolph. He's got the reflexes of a cat or something. I don't know. He's just super good at it. And it was just super impressive.
Yeah, but the reason I don't like him is because of his distribution. In that first half, there was a few times today, he just booted it down the middle of the pitch, and it was going straight to the Everton keeper. And we could argue that that's part of the reason we never got going today, that we weren't passing out from the back, etc. And he was at fault a couple of times. I'm not taking anything away from his saves. And at the end of the game, he did some fantastic saves at the end of the game as well, just to keep it 2-0. He had a really good game, and we'll get onto that later. But his distribution was, again, shocking. At one point, Obiang ran about 15 yards back to get the ball, and Adrian just hoofed it down the middle of the pitch. And, the Everton centre-backs knew what they were doing. They had Antonio. They were holding Antonio. The ball went over the top of the head. Job done. Let go of Antonio. Job done. We've got possession back. Cheers for that. Then Everton played out from the back. That's why I have an issue with him. But Gonzo, Lukaku, didn't take him long. What did you make of that goal?
Well, it was a Halloween horror show from Reed, really, wasn't it? Let's be honest with you. He made the initial clearance. And then really, I thought he was a little bit reticent to the second ball that Adrian spilled. The commentator was saying Adrian should have pushed it wide and round, but he got down, he made the save. And I think he was, at that point, Reed was more scared about conceding the penalty by sliding in. So he didn't go in as fast as he possibly could to be. I think it was on Balassi. He didn't go in as fast as he possibly could. So, yeah, as I say, a Reed horror show there, and Lukaku doing what he always does. But I don't know what happened at half-time, because I thought we needed half-time. Towards the end of the second half, which plays into what you were saying about Adrian's distribution. Adrian's distribution was fine when they weren't pressing us. Towards the end of the second half, Koeman clearly said, get and press those back three. At that point, then your keeper has to start passing it out, because the centre-backs don't have lots of time to pass it out. At that point, we were susceptible. I actually said on the match thread on the forum, we need half-time now, because I thought Bilic was going to get them in there, change something, do something, and we'd come out better. Well, was I ever wrong? We came out worse. We were very, very poor in that second half. And yeah, the goal was coming, and it came.
Charlie, what did you make of that goal? I mean, there's a saying in football, if you like, show me a goal and I'll show you a mistake from the defensive team. And usually you can't pick an header somewhere. That one, you could have picked 3 or 4.
Yeah, and the one that's worse for me was when Balassi does flick the ball back across, Lukaku has about an acre of space around him. There isn't a single defender close to him. And the exact same thing happens with the second goal. We're going to get onto it. But when Ross Barkley receives the ball, he has an acre of space. It's like I've seen statues with more awareness of their surroundings than our defence at times. It's horrendous. Like, here's a guy who everyone before the game said, he's going to score. He always scores against West Ham. And so the ball comes across to him in the centre. And all our defenders, I was about to say statues, all our defenders were just standing there staring at him. Like, it was horrendous. It was terrible. That was the worst thing about it for me. Reed going in, you could have gone harder, but then he could have got a penalty. All these other things, all mistakes. But that is unforgivable. Everyone just stood there and watched him header the ball into the net, and it was unbelievable.
I think the problem with Lukaku being free, I'll get on to who I'm blaming in a second. The problem with Lukaku being free is Lukaku was Winston Reid's man the whole game, and Winston Reid moved to go and get the shot that had just been Payet. Therefore, he left Lukaku, and neither of the centre-backs picked them up. However, you could argue it was Reid's job, and that's why, in that quick, Ogbonna and Czech is probably looking for runners, etc., not Lukaku. They've got Winston Reid's going, but Winston Reid left his man to go. He rightly so, and I think you're being harsh on Reid a little bit, Gonzo. I think could he have gone in harder? Maybe. I think it's just a case of whoever gets there first doesn't actually get the luck, because Reed kind of kicks off Bolassi's shin and it pings behind him. If Bolassi got there first, it would hit Reed and went out for a corner. Who I'm blaming is Aaron Creswell. If you watch it back, Creswell standing about a yard in front of Bolassi when the shot happens, and he stands with his hands out as I say, go pick it up. The keeper's lying on the deck. What are you expecting him to do? Just boot it into Rosette. Just no fanning around. Just get it out of there. Aaron Creswell just standing there with his hands out, and then Bolassi runs around him and gets there before Winston Reid. I just thought, what? But the problem is, all three of us have picked out a different defender to blame, and that's what highlights the problem with that goal. And no one said Lanzini, who allowed Coleman to come on the inside and have the initial shot anyway. There's plenty of wrong with that goal. A couple of subs, Ayew on for Obiang, which raised a few eyebrows on social media, and then Zaza came on for Fernandes, which raised even more eyebrows on social media. But we'll talk about Bilic's tactics at the end. 2-0, Gonzo and Charlie's touched on it. That was just as bad defending, really, wasn't it?
Ogbonna jogged back. Watch it again, or don't watch it again. In fact, don't watch it again. Do something else tonight. Watch a rerun of The Apprentice or something. Do something else. But if you do choose to watch Match of Day 2, Ogbonna jogs back. He jogs towards Lukaku like he's got all the time in the world. It's Sunday. Lovely. Take your time, old son. Right? He pops it up to the back post, at which point, Payet, I don't know who's meant. I'm not a tactician. I don't know who's meant to be marking Barkley. Charlie said absolutely he should be marked. But Payet then thought, hold on, this fella behind me is not marked, and tries to get to him quite quickly. But he was in acres of space. It was almost as if at 1-0 defensively we'd given up. I didn't expect much today. I did not expect much at all. It's Goodison. I would have happily taken a draw, but I thought we were on the up, and I don't think we can. Don't want Bilic gone, and I don't think we're going to get relegated before anyone else accuses me of being sensationalistic about it. But I thought we'd turned a corner. I thought we were better than that. And defensively, that's poor. And I'll tell you what, later on, you're going to ask me who the man of the match is. I'm not going to tell you who my man of the match is, but I'll tell you something. It won't be an outfield player.
No clues there. What I will say about that second goal as well, I agree with what you've both said. The worst thing about Ogbonna is, not only did he jog back, when he got there, he let Lukaku take onto his left foot. The world knows Lukaku is left-footed. Put him on his weak foot on the byline, so he's got literally half a yard to get into the box. He does it. He lets it take him onto his left foot and just dink it. Oh, it was so easy. It was unbelievable. I think Koeman must have been thinking, what is this I'm watching? I've watched West Ham against Chelsea midweek, and this is not what I've seen. This is not what I was watching. Cleverly, Lukaku went close at the end. They should have had a penalty. All three of us were ready to come on the show, and we all said it was a pen. We're not going to discuss that. You should have had 3-0, probably, Everton fans. But let's talk about some of the tactics and some of the players. Charlie, where's it gone wrong today?
Okay. Everywhere. So, as I said, I don't think Antonio is a striker. I've never said that. I don't think he's technically capable. Adrian booting the ball onto him is the most pointless thing in the world. He's not Andy Carroll. He's not going to win a header.
But Charlie, surely Antonio had to start up front today.
No. Listen. I'm. Trust me, I'm not done. Adrian is at fault for trying to boot the ball onto him because that's not his game. I agree with you. As I said at the beginning, I think he should have started because against Chelsea it worked so well. Because counter-attacking wise, he's the best option we have in that position because he causes havoc, because he runs left and right, he runs backwards and forwards, he's big, he's stocky, he's difficult to stop. The first half we saw him create chance after chance, running in behind, and they were lucky to get away with it. But we're booting the ball long and that's pointless. Then when it comes to the centre, Payet and Lanzini work really well together. They just do. But today they weren't fully on form. Then you have the midfield, I don't remember much of anything from Fernandes. I don't remember much from anything from Cresswell. Ogbonna, as you said, looked uninterested. Doesn't describe how uninterested he looks. There was one point just before what we were talking about there where there was a corner and he got pulled up for pushing or shoving or whatever he was doing, the stupid stuff that they get pulled up for in the box. And he just looked at the ref as if to go, oh, okay. And then the ball came across and he was just wandering about in the box. There were so many individual mistakes across the entire length of the pitch. No one performed well enough. And people questioned bringing on Zaza for Admilson. I thought Zaza should come on way earlier just because we needed an outball. And there was nothing there. We couldn't do it. And Everton were more than happy to just sit back, as Gonzo said, and let us try to come on to them. And when that happens, we can't do anything. We're not that team. We have to counter-attack.
Christ, I couldn't disagree with you more there. You said about 3,000. I disagree with all three. Gonzo, has he been harsh on Antonio?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't give it to an outfield player, but I did think Antonio worked as tirelessly as he could. He won some free kicks. He did actually get in behind them a few times. He's not a striker. I would have started him there. But what that does is it actually tells a tale of a bigger story. And that bigger story is our centre forward situation. And when I saw Zaza come on, rather than thinking, oh, I should have come on earlier, I thought, oh my, well, what? I didn't think anything very nice, that's for sure. He is absolutely useless. Centre forward is a big, big issue for us. We've had 13 shots today, 3 of them on target, and I think one of the shots that they classed on target was possibly Payet's free kick, right, which trickled. It was never going to threaten anyway, so to call it an on-target shot is ridiculous. We were very, very poor. Now, I'd also suggest that whoever we did have up front, nobody got close to anyway. So there were big gaps between Antonio, and there seemed to be nobody joining him from midfield, which was strange because surely this system allows us to get Lanzini and Payet. Lanzini and Payet right behind the striker. So as they can go up and support him. That wasn't happening. So I don't blame Antonio particularly for that. But end of last season, we do a show. What do we need for next season? We need a striker. Everyone's saying we need a striker. Where's our striker? Why do we not have a striker? Zaza is not the man. Zaza's not the guy. Everton have got a striker. He's called Lukaku. We don't have a striker. We shouldn't have to be playing Antonio. Antonio is a very good right winger, as he proved last season at the start of this season. Where's our striker? We cannot rely on Andy Carroll coming back. Andy Carroll's injured for game upon game upon game every season. Andy Carroll come back. He'll play 15 games a season. He'll do quite well in those 15 games. Don't know what's going on with Sacco. He's got a screw loose in the head, possibly. Who knows? We need a striker. It can't be Zaza. Send him back January. Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Gold, fork out, get us a striker, please. Mr. Bilic, get people in support of him, whoever he is. Right,
let's get back to the game. Me and Gonzo, we're going to be doing a live show tomorrow night anyway on the striker situation in general. Talk about all our strikers. Gonzo's pretty much giving away what he's going to say. All I'm going to say about Antonio is the reason I disagree with Charlie is because basically what Gonzo said, we weren't getting close enough to Antonio. The reason it worked against Chelsea is because we gave it to his feet. He turned and ran out of the defence, and he would get tackled eventually. But as soon as they tackled him, Lanzini, Payet, Fernandes, Obiang, Noble were there for the second ball to go again, have another wave with support. And it didn't work today because no one was backing him up at all. Now, let's talk about the man who we're not allowed to criticise, Dimitri Payet. Well, I don't even know who was on the pitch half-time today. But Charlie, his set pieces today were shocking. 3 corners went out for a goal kick.
Yeah, he was pretty much... there's times when he's on the ball where he looks effective, but the problem with his corners especially are he likes to sort of hit them relatively low and get a lot of whip on them, which, when they work, are absolutely devastating.
Okay, wait.
Hang on.
Name a corner when it's worked. One corner.
Again, when he does it, when it works.
When
it works, it's devastating. But
when has it worked?
Okay, cool. Okay, look, when he does it, it's when the problem is though. Is that they're really difficult to pull off, and he just doesn't seem to be able to do it. He consistently tries and tries and tries.
You just told me when he does it, it's devastating.
No, you're missing the point. Like, the thing is...
But then you just told me he can't do it. Make up your mind. Like, wait, are you saying he can or cannot pull it off?
He can't pull it off consistently is what I'm saying. That's what I've said 3 times in a row. Look, the problem with Dimitri Payet is when he can go missing for entire games and then can pull out just the most unbelievable thing out of nowhere. And so that's why people are scared to criticize him, because he is talismanic. He's up for the Ballon d'Or. He does all this incredible stuff, but he's not consistent. I've said plenty of times, and you say it as well, I know you do, that Lanzini is more consistent over a 90-minute period than Dimitri Payet ever is. And that's completely true. And the problem with Payet is that he is the most technically gifted player we have. And so we put him on corners to do stuff like that, but he can't pull it off. We put him on free kicks, and he's... The only one which I think every free kick he did pretty much today was poor. He did one cross which was decent. There was that one where he tried to hit it underneath the wall. If the wall jumped, it might have been decent, but it just didn't. he wasn't good enough today, and he wasn't effective enough today. And unfortunately, that happens a lot. But you can't criticize him because he just is able to pull out this magic stuff from nowhere. And it's unfortunate because he is our best player by a margin. But as you've said, as I said, many people say, Lanzini is more consistent over 90 minutes, and Dimitri Payet, days like today are just unbelievably frustrating because you know he's better than what he's doing.
The problem, I think, is that he was up against Seamus Coleman. He should never have been against Seamus Coleman. He is one of Everton's main attacking outlets, and we're asking the player that we don't want to see track back, that can't track back and that won't track back, we're putting him up against Seamus Coleman. I think that was a mistake. He should have been on the other side or in the middle and said, here, go get you out of the picture so you're not... the team must have been saying to Dimitri at some point, go, look, will you get back and mark him? Because he was troubling us, Seamus Coleman. Every single time he was on the ball, he was troubling us. The live chat just reminded me about Ogbonna. What I was going to say about you two is you two were saying he didn't look like he cared today. I think that's just Ogbonna. Even when he has a good game, he just looks laid back as possible. I've never seen him shout. I've never seen him get angry. I think that's just his style. And I think it's hard to gauge that he doesn't care because he just never seems to get worked up. Gonzo, what I will say is we've all just sat here and said Antonio was not a striker anymore, or he didn't work today, right? Fernandez is, correct me if I'm wrong, had another half decent game at right wing back. Where's Antonio's position now? It's gone. Where do you play him?
With the change of system?
Yeah, where do you play him?
That's a tough one. That is a tough one, but it's a chicken and egg situation, is it? What are you going to do? We needed to change the formation. Having said that, he's our top scorer, so we've pushed our top scorer out of the equation. It's a very, very difficult one, and to be perfectly honest with you, I would sort of go with the manager's decision on it, and because the change of formation had to be done. Having said that, I think Reed is out of the next game, I understand, so it'll be interesting to see how those three centre-backs work for the next game, or is he just going to go back to two, in which case Antonio gets his position back. The answer to your question, the answer to it lies in for how long Bilic is going to play the system. But I absolutely agree that because there are defensive responsibilities in that right wing back role, I would rather Antonio didn't play there. And yes, as I say, no outfield players played particularly well today. But I thought Fernandez again had a half decent game, she said.
Well, if you two can gather your thoughts, because I'll be getting your final thoughts in a minute. We're not going to do man and match today. I think we've all given it to the same person, and I think maybe the only person to come out with full on credibility from the game. And to you viewers who are still here, congratulations on making it to the end. Make sure you subscribe and drop a like on the video. Like I said, me and Gonzo will be back tomorrow night, Monday. We'll confirm on social media on the forum at hammerschat.com what time we'll be discussing our striker situation. Every single striker, what needs to be done, and who would we like to see at West Ham. We now know we're not going to be spending 40 million on a striker, so we're only spending 4 million on a striker. What is the solution? We'll be trying to come up with some, easier said than done. Charlie, what's your final thoughts on the game? We've just been beaten 2-0 by Everton. We're now what, 17th in the league, or 16th in the league, and we can drop down to 17th if Stoke win later on. What's your overall thoughts?
I'm not as concerned as maybe I should be. I think our formation works when we're counter-attacking. I think today Everton figured out that if you just sit deep, then we're essentially useless. So I'm not as worried as I should be, especially going into the run of fixtures we're about to get into, where the onus is going to be on every single one of those teams to be the force going forward and not the ones sitting back. The ones I'm worried about are obviously Manchester United, because Mourinho is Mr. Defensive. So I'm not overly concerned, but the biggest worry for me, and it has been consistently this season, is that our striker is never getting enough support. They're never getting enough balls in. They're never getting enough of the right balls to them. And the people behind them aren't being creative enough in order to make up for that deficit. Last season, when Sacco wasn't getting all the goals, it was very obvious that he was there to supply the midfielders around him. He was dragging people left, right, and centre, stuff like that at the beginning of last season. But this season, that's not happening. And that's a big worry, because it means that effectively, attackingly, we are all over the shop, and it needs to change. However, I'm not as concerned as I was 2-3 weeks ago.
Gonzo, final thoughts?
Yeah, today was a bad day at the office, and the points that I made earlier on need to be addressed in terms of striker. Reed won't do that again. I'm pretty sure he's got a lot of credit in the bank. And we played a high-intensity game in midweek, a very high-intensity game, and Everton have played at home. So then we've travelled. I think they've travelled up on the train, actually, the squad as well. So I think that may have played its part. Maybe we just couldn't hit those same high notes. So it's an isolated game. I don't think there's any bigger picture. But I thought it was an opportunity loss because I thought because of how well we played against Chelsea, rather, I know what Charlie's saying. Everton might have been tactically switched on and thought, oh, we'll just sit back and let them come on to us. Actually, I think because of what happened against Chelsea, I think Everton were actually scared, and that's why they stood off us. And I think it was a bit of an opportunity loss. I think we should have gone for the jugular then, but actually we were just happy to pass it around the back and didn't commit enough men forward. So that would be my one thing to take away from today. I just wish we should have made hay when the sun shone.
My final thoughts in a second. Before you do that, Hammers Chat started a weekly newsletter, just giving you our news, gossip, and any offers. We've got some exclusive offers coming up to the newsletter only. You will only get the offer in the newsletter. I'll put a link in the description and on the forum at hammerschat.com. It takes 2 seconds to sign up to it. It's totally free. All we need is your email address, and that's it. So get on that, and it pops into your inbox once a week. My final thoughts is I'm agreeing with Charlie on this one. I've disagreed with him the whole show, but I'll agree with him here. I think Everton did their homework. I think Koeman is, I've said it numerous times, you two agree, he's one of the best managers in the league. I think he sat down, looked at our style over the last few games, thought, right, if I do this, they're in trouble. I think the fact that they came down our their right-hand side, our left, more than the other side against Dimitri Payet, they knew he would not track back. Go down that side, you have a bit of joy. And it worked an absolute treat. They got in our faces. They didn't win the first ball. They went after the second one. They didn't win that. They fouled us. They knew exactly what to do. And it's what we did to Chelsea. But this, to me, was bonus points. So we got something today I would have been chuffed, but I think if we took our early chances before we ran out of steam in the second half, it would have been a completely different game altogether. But Goodison Park is a hard place to go for any side, especially someone like us with it being our bogey team. So I'm not too disappointed that we've lost. And we'll go again against Stoke. I'll be back with Gonzo and a other guest. We don't know who. You can let us know who you want to see, I suppose, Charlie. People might want to see you again. Let us know who you want on if you want for the Stoke preview, where Winston Reid will be missing. And make sure you join us tomorrow night. But make sure you subscribe, drop a like in the video. Gonzo's got a phone call to get to. Thank you very much for joining us.